Hey everyone, thanks for joining me this week on our expert interview series. I've got a good colleague of mine here, Jordan Mather. We most recently connected. He's a person who's focusing on physical therapists and really helping them grow their business. He's got a lot of experience in terms of different types of advertising, more specifically Facebook, and being able to do things like workshops and voucher ads and discounts and really everything in between in order to get new patients for health practices, specifically physical therapists. So we've chatted a little bit. We've got a lot of similarities and a lot of the same sort of concepts and background and network. So I wanted to bring him on here because I'm a huge advocate for utilizing workshops to be able to sell one-to-many and obviously establishing your omnipresence in your community. And I know Jordan's got an amazing section in class he's got prepared for us to really go through on how to maximize workshops and really understanding on how to choose the right ones so that ultimately we're going to get a segment of the population in that can be really exponential in growing your business. So thanks for joining me today, Jordan. Tell us a little, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you'll be kind of covering today.
Yeah, well, Brad, thank you so much for having me. This is a presentation that I've given a few times, and I love giving it because there's so many like aha moments that people have. But before I go into that, so if you don't know me, Jordan Mather, I own The Clinical Marketer, and I've been helping physical therapists grow their business online for the last 8 years, since I was 19 years old. So I've been doing this for a long time. And I've recently transitioned away from just a traditional done-for-you Facebook, Google ad agency to go all in on workshops, because once we started focusing and helping people do those, it's just the results are, you can hardly compare them. It's just so much better at not just growing and attracting new patients and growing that email list, but the word of mouth results are one of those unexpected side effects of doing it. So it's really one of those unparalleled online marketing strategies that I can't think of a single reason or a single person, no matter what your situation is, that I wouldn't recommend doing online workshops. All right, so today I'm giving you a presentation that I've taught within my own masterclass and a couple of other coaches that you've probably heard of masterclasses on just, why workshops work so well, how you can make sure that people are actually going to care and actually show up, and how you can validate whether or not people are interested in your workshop and your offers long before you put in all the sweat equity it takes to actually build these things. Because I think anyone who's ever done a workshop or done a Facebook Live or put content out there knows what it's like to put it all together and then launch it and then have no one see it, which is a miserable place to be. It stinks. So I'm going to teach everyone today how to make sure that never happens, and how to make sure what you're presenting and putting out into the world separates you from all the competition, so you're not a commodity workshop, I'm calling them, and how to really distinguish yourself. So today I'm calling this particular training the 3 schedule packing and cash flow stacking strategies you must know before writing a single ad. Because once you understand these things, they're not tactics. They're not like short-lived things. These are strategies that are as old as time that you can apply to a lot of different areas of your marketing. Because I wanted this to be something that you can carry with you forever and not just be something that only works, over the next couple months before Facebook changes its algorithm again on us. So to get into it, you're going to walk away today knowing exactly how to quickly fill your schedule and quickly boost your cash flow using online workshops with workshops. So kind of already discussed who I am. I've taught this to a lot of different groups that you may have heard of. I'm not just making this stuff up. I actually have done this a few times. So I want to make sure you are clear of that. So how this all got started, how I got into workshops, was when COVID first launched, like everyone else, my whole business pretty much tanked. I had a lot of my clients had to pause. Did you have to close your doors for a while, Brad?
Yeah, well, in Canada with the clinics, basically like we were shut down for like 3.5 months. So, we had to make some changes and shift a bit to doing virtual or delivery of service outside of the doors since everything was locked down.
Right. I'm going to put this in presentation mode. Right. And that's the same thing that happened with most of my clients. So instead of losing them, I basically just told them, don't worry about paying me. We're going to continue to run your ads and continue to help keep you open during this time. And like I said, originally we used to run very traditional ads to an offer with a voucher, and then the clinic would follow up with them and close them. Very sales-oriented strategy. And that just wasn't working once COVID first hit. So this is a picture of me sitting on my business partner's porch in the north woods of Wisconsin, because we evacuated the cities. And I put like a lot of weight on my shoulders to figure out what I was calling the cure for COVID. What's going to be the offer? What's going to be the strategy? It's going to be able to allow my clients to open back up, because they were in like serious trouble of losing their entire business and their entire income, which didn't sit well with me. So I was trying to figure it out. I did all sorts of experiments. I tried 14-day challenge, like back pain challenges. I tried different types of offers, like every kind of offer you can imagine, every different kind of Facebook ad, Google ad, YouTube ads. We tried a little bit of everything, and nothing really worked until I saw one of Jared Carter's trainings on workshops, and I was like, why haven't I tried this yet? So I ran it with a couple people and was just blown away at how well it worked, even though it was, during the pandemic and everyone was afraid to come in, because we were selling telehealth, in-person visits, and online courses. It didn't matter what we're selling at the end of the workshop. It just, because we structured it in a certain way, they built so much rapport and trust during that workshop that whatever they're ready to sell, the people were convinced and believed that it was in their best interest to buy that thing. So that's another reason why we're all in on workshops, because it doesn't matter what you're selling. If you tell the right stories and overcome the right objections during that workshop, then you can sell them basically anything, which is my favorite part about it. So it doesn't matter if you're selling in person or virtual, if you can sell it through a workshop. Okay, so again, I'm going to go over the 3 different strategies that's going to help you blow your workshops out of the water and make sure that you don't run one that has like 2 or 3 people in attendance ever again. We want to make sure that we're filling up those workshops, because once you have one high quality workshop, once you have one really good one, you can use that replay and drive traffic to it over and over again. It's going to feed your business for months. It's such an impactful strategy that honestly saves you so much time, contrary to what a lot of people think. They're afraid to put in that front end work of creating that workshop. But once you have one really good workshop, you can use the recording and drive traffic to it forever. And it's going to continue to grow your email list. It's going to continue to bring in new patients for you. And it's going to continue to grow your word of mouth marketing. It's such an incredible evergreen tool that one of my coolest favorite ways that I've seen people use for workshops. Let me know if you've thought of this, Greg, because I know you and I share a lot of same opinions and thought processes around this. They used the replay of the workshop that they knew was really good, and instead of going out to other practices or other businesses and just asking for referrals, they gave it to them as a gift, because they knew that their clients had this particular problem all the time. And instead of having to say like, oh, I'm sorry, like we don't help you with that, but here is someone that you can go and see if you want. Now, instead, they have something that they can bundle in as part of their offer to make them look really good and prepared to hand them. And the percentage of people that are going to go watch that workshop versus that are actually going to come see you in the clinic is way, way higher. So it's a much easier sell to get someone to start referring people to your content. And it's such a good relationship building tactic. Have you ever considered doing something like that, Brad?
Yeah, I love it. And one thing I used to do, like with not like the virtual stuff per se yet, but like the in-persons, I would always film them. And I would say like one of the most important things about the workshops is even if 2 people show up and let's say a whole bunch of people register, we can follow up with those people and then use components of the workshop to put them in the follow-up sequence. And I would actually record them and put them on a USB and use them in like shock and awe packages for like referrals or whatever. And it's just huge. So, whoever's listening to this, make sure that it's like, hey, the workshops are, I can't drive that home enough about what Jordan's saying. They are an asset to your business that you can utilize in many different ways, from ads to joint ventures and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, and then dice it up. If you have a content strategy, do a workshop, dice it up, and now you have content for a month or 2.
Exactly.
So good, so good. Okay, so very quickly, what we're going to be covering is number 1, the one marketing strategy that experts say is 10 times more likely to get your prospects' attention. The 4 commandments of writing killer headlines are so magnetic, it actually like hurts people to pass it up. And then number 3, the one quick test that you can do to guarantee that the people are actually interested in what you're going to be marketing. So you don't waste your time and energy, because we already discussed, like, that is, I'm sure you've been there. I certainly have.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, right. Okay, so before I go into like the one marketing strategy, which you already know it's coming, it's workshops, I want to quickly go over the difference between like sales-based marketing and value-based marketing, which I know a lot of you probably already know, but I want to share it from a different perspective I'm sure you haven't heard before. So obviously sales-based marketing are those Facebook ads that you might have seen where they're promising 20 patient guarantees, or like we used to run with our advertising, where it's just here's a clinic, here's the offer, here's how many vouchers we have, opt in for it. Those are all very sales-based, and it's all about buy, all right? And the problem with those, at least the con with those, is that they're incredibly competitive. You're marketing in a commodity-based market because you're only going after the 3% of people that marketing message is going to speak to. Because in any given market, no matter what it is, buying trucks, buying clothes, buying physical therapy, buying books, at any given time, there's only 3% of the market actively looking to make a purchase in there. So when you're only targeting that 3% market, you're competing against all the other practices and supplemental businesses that aren't the same but still solve the same niche, like chiropractors or massage therapists. So you're competing against all of those people. So we call that a red ocean in marketing, where the small percentage of people that are actually ready to buy, like a school of fish, are all being just mauled by sharks, and there's a ton of blood in the water. So you're really limiting yourself in how many people you can serve and how many people you can help when you're just doing a sales-based marketing approach. But if you break this up and take a look at what the entire buying market breakdown looks like, there's so many more advantages to stepping away from that sales-based market and targeting more of that 37% of the market. Because just because they're not looking to buy right now does not mean that you can't get them to buy, because you can go after the problem-aware people and the people that are looking for information, and they're just looking for someone to just tell them what to do. They're not in the phase where they're comparing their options, comparing prices, and comparing like who's the closest to me. They're just looking for someone that's just going to be like, hey, I know you have this problem and here's exactly how to fix it. Because once you capture someone in the problem aware stage and just tell them that they can skip the information gathering stage and just go straight to the buying phase and be done with it, it's actually a lot easier to get them to buy, as long as you are doing it in a psychologically based approach. It's such a different way of advertising. So when we're marketing to that additional 37%, we just have to make sure that our marketing messages and our sales messages aren't only talking about sales. We need to take a different approach, because as Sabri Subi says, and if you haven't read his books or consumed his material, look him up on YouTube. He's brilliant. The temperature of your marketing message must match the temperature of your audience. So if they're problem aware, don't try to sell them a solution right away. You have to give them some other form of bait that's going to pique their curiosity and make them move forward. So in value, to demonstrate like how this got started, I want to give you like a brief history of value-based advertising and how one guy brought in 3 million leads in the span of 2 weeks, which was absolutely unheard of. This happened back in 1948, like when marketing was just barely becoming a thing. So like imagine getting 3,000 people writing you a handwritten letter telling you how much you've changed their lives. Like that would be so insane. I'm sure a lot of you have already gotten a lot of mail from past patients and telling you like how much you helped them. But this is what Louis Engel did. This was a man from Florida, and he was a journalist, and he wasn't really good at it. He was kind of bouncing all around the place, trying to find a job, was not an advertiser. But all of a sudden, a couple years down the road, he found himself working in a marketing position for a company you hopefully have heard of. It's on Wall Street, Merrill Lynch. And the reason you know what that name is because this guy that had no idea how to do marketing came in and made that company what it is today by giving the simple recommendation of, instead of putting an ad out there and telling people to come buy what we have, why don't we give them information and then offer them more information? A simple, like, just give before you ask. And everyone thought he was crazy. He said that would never, ever work. We're not going to do that. That terrifies us. But he kept nagging them until they finally were like, okay, you can test it, but you have to go away once we test it. So they ran this hideous ad, just of every single frequently asked question made by made to their sales team, and just put an answer to it. Took out an entire page on a newspaper, just nothing but a wall of text. It was hideous. But with that just simple, tiny catalog with the smallest amount of viewers with on it, they got 5,000 old-timey leads in just 1 week. And what I mean by old-timey leads is they couldn't just call someone or fill out their name and email and opt in. They had to actually physically write a letter and go to the post office and actually physically mail this thing. 5,000 people did that in a week just by providing information up front and building that trust, which is absolutely insane. So then they believed that, oh my God, maybe there's something to this, and published it in their top one, got 3,000 leads in the span of 2 weeks just by providing information up front, which was that's when value-based advertising was born. And that's why one of the reasons why we started going so hard in doing this, because as people started to do this, they realized that it is 10 times more likely to get someone to come to you if you offer to teach them something than if you're trying to sell them something. So if in your advertising, no matter how much you're spending on it, if you transitioned your messaging to be more value-based rather than trying to pitch something to people, 10 times more people are going to pay attention. So if currently all of your advertising is more sales-based, just by transitioning that to a value-based sales strategy, you're going to get 10 times more people listening than you currently are, which I'd imagine would equate to a pretty substantial boost in your current marketing metrics.
For sure. Love it.
Right. Okay, so these are your blogs, ebooks, newsletters, and this is why we're so hyped about online workshops and why we transitioned our entire business model just to help practices transition to online workshops. Because the average open rate on email is 10 to 15. There's some outliers out there that are in the 20 to 25 range, which is actually crazy good. But then the average consumption rate of these ebooks and these courses and books, no matter what it is, if it's some digital product or a physical product, if it's content, only 3 to 5% of people actually complete that content. Only 3 to 5% of people are probably going to watch this entire thing, because that's just statistically true. I hope not, but statistically, I can't be upset about it. But on average, with workshops, the average engagement rate with a workshop is 40%, which is absolutely insane. So if someone downloads your ebook, they have a 15 to 20% chance of actually checking that email. And then the people that do check that email, only 3 to 5% of it are actually going to read that ebook. But if you get someone to opt in for a workshop, they're 40% more likely to actually be there and engage and interact with that workshop, which is just so insane. And hopefully that gets you, that number convinces you right there that you should at least try doing some online workshops. So now you might be convinced that workshops are probably a pretty viable marketing strategy and that you should try it. How exactly do you get people interested in your workshops? Because I'm not sure what you've heard, Brad, but the number one reason that I've heard of people not starting or not trying to do workshops is because they have no idea how to get people there.
Yeah, well, I usually hear the two main objections that I get is, one, they think it's going to be a lot of work and having to set it up and talk and not really know how to really put it together, and thinking it's a bigger project than it actually is. When basically I sort of look at it as you do a Q&A, you have some topic to discuss, you answer some Q&As, and that's about it, right? It doesn't need to be a crazy put on a suit or whatever. And then the next thing is how do I get people other than just my patients to come into it? And how do I really leverage and market that? Maybe that, into their own list or their network. So those are the two things.
And actually going to go into that, but yeah, it's the same thing. I had one person tell me that they were afraid of doing online workshops because how could they get everyone better and during the workshop? And I was like, that is not the point of a workshop. You're not getting everyone better during it. You're just providing them the information that allows them to make the decision that'll help them get better.
Yeah, that's a super important point that I think people need to understand too, is that understanding what the job of the workshop is. And that's what I would say. The job of the workshop is to get people to raise their hand. And even if people don't show up, same with online, a friend of mine, Taki Moore, always says the workshop doesn't matter or the webinar doesn't matter because it's people are raising their hand that they need help, and you can now facilitate giving them the information and bridging that gap.
Right. That's why it's the best lead magnet out there, because an ebook doesn't get you to actually interact and engage. Ebooks don't start conversations, but workshops absolutely do. It's such a powerful thing. Okay, so that leads us into principle number 2, the 4 commandments of writing killer headlines that actually like go against people's psychology to like not reach out and grab. So it all comes down to being able to present a high value offer. So one of my good friends, who's a student of ours, she used to do a lot of in-person workshops, especially with like burn boot camp. She's a pelvic health specialist, specialized with incontinence and postpartum. So what she did was normally I'm going to do just a workshop, incontinence workshops is what she called it. And then at the end of it, she always offered a free screen, which is super standard. Most people offer a very, very similar thing. But I said, don't you dare do that, because nothing about that offer makes the audience that you're trying to attract feel special. It doesn't make them be like, oh, this was made for me. This is just an opportunity to potentially solve a problem. You're not offering a real solution that was made for them. And people don't want opportunities, they want solutions. So I had her change the name of her workshop to be, Burn Boot Camp, Pelvic Floor, and Rock Your Core. It was like something like that, where it's just like kind of lightly touched on the pelvic health part, which is a huge secret for most women, and then talked about how to really like rock your core. So it touched on 2 things that people really wanted, and then just threw Burn Boot Camp on there to make it feel like this is theirs. They got excited about it. So instead of having an average of like 5 to 10 people at these things, she got 30 people. She got 30 people in. She normally had like a 15-20% conversion rate on that free screen that she always offered. Instead of having the free screen, I helped her break out this using a technique called offer splintering, which we don't have time to go into. But we basically made her free screen sound super tailored and super attractive to those people, even though it's the exact same thing as a free screen. We just changed the way she talked about it. So instead of a free screen, it was a healthy mama assessment, where you get a history and pelvic floor audit, a movement and strength assessment, and a doctor's report of findings. It was something like broken down like that each step had a very tailored Burn Boot Camp kind of name. And we sold it for $197 instead of being free. And instead of getting 15% of the room like she was used to, she got 11 out of those 33 people. So her conversion rate actually increased, and she made way more money on the front end before she even treated anyone and sold Planet Cares on that package. So she's never offered a free thing again, and she's always tailored those names and titles to the audience that you're addressing. That is so incredibly important. Another client of ours, or soon-to-be client, was saying how, I want to do a back pain workshop, but there's so many back pain workshops out there. And I said, you're absolutely right, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't do a back pain workshop. You just can't call it a back pain workshop like every single person that's out there. You got to come up with something that's a little bit sexier, a little bit more attractive for people to go through. So we need to come up with titles that not only identify who your dream clients are, but you got to find what their most annoying and persistent back-breaking problem is and call it out. That's how you're going to get to do it. And that back pain, that's not the most back-breaking problem, no pun intended. The problem is whatever that back pain is preventing them from being able to do, whether it's spending time with family, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's playing golf, whatever it is, those are the back-breaking, emotionally triggered problems. And that's what we have to call out within our titles and our headlines. So to do this, there's 4 steps to writing killer headlines that are going to get people to come to your workshops. So the first is you need a headline that grabs people's attention and forces prospects to read. Brad, do you guys have these magazines?
I love National Enquirer. I think they're probably the best copywriting magazines, just because
they're actually ranked as number 1.
Yeah.
Right. It's because
I don't know who writes for them. If it's the the big one, I can't remember the copywriting firm that writes, but yeah, they're awesome for sure.
They're so good. Even though it's like every time I read these, I'm like almost like mad, like who cares? Like, who reads this crap? But People do. They have 7 million weekly readers, which is insane because people like can't help but read into the drama that's on here. So in order for us to write really good headlines, we need to learn from these. Even if you hate them, we need to take a look at like what are the big words that are on here that are popping people out, that even though you like hate this stuff, you don't give a crap about Tom Cruise, you like can't help but read it because of the power words that are on here. You see humiliation, horrors, punishment, sex scandal cover-up. Like all of these things are trigger emotions in us based on our past experiences. They're like, oh my gosh, something in here is going to trigger me to feel like that. That's intriguing. That hits on such a primal, primitive part of our brains that we just need to take a look at it. So I know a lot of you are like, I would never use those kind of words to market my brand. We have class. I get it. So I'm going to show you a couple more magazines that you might be a little bit more familiar with.
They use a lot of curiosity-based headlines, right? So you could still, you don't have to go that far forward, but like you can definitely create curiosity of like, the secret tip that, the 70-year-old athlete knows to overcome back pain or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's probably a to come off the top of
off the cuff, that was pretty good though. So, I mean, take a look at these. What are something that you grab that every single one of these magazines has?
I think the big thing is they've got like, you've got the text and you've got like somebody like the image, right? So like the image is there. It's got good contrast with every single thing. And then it's got like, right to the point, like 6 ways to get sculpted, 20 pounds gone, 98 shoes, bags or whatever, and 350 haircuts. So like, it's like right to the point, boom,
Mm-hmm.
right where you've got, right where you've got into there. So if I got a shoe problem and a bag problem, I know I got 98 ways to solve them.
You nailed it. It's the numbers, because like we have all the emotional triggers happening with the words, but we think emotionally, then we take action rationally. So you need those trigger words that hit the emotion, and then we need the numbers that hit the logical part of our brains are good. That's what gets us to take action. So the second commandment is to make it tangible using numbers. So the most powerful headlines set up both emotional and logical triggers. Using numbers, like if people are confused in any way, they're not going to take action, because there's a part of our brains, the hippocampus, that is just always looking for red flags to throw at stuff. It's whenever we don't recognize something or something's new to us, we immediately find any and all reasons to not do something about it. So we need to make sure that we hit on both emotional and logical things in such a concise way to get past the hippocampus to the frontal lobe of our brain, where decision makings actually get. So you have to, every headline, every offer, however you say it, you have to make sure that you're hitting on both those triggers to get past the gatekeeper of decision making, which is the hippocampus. So let's do a quick exercise to this. Okay, so first thing, this is a pretty common one. 5 things you must know before getting shoulder pain, okay? Or something, information about shoulder surgery, okay? So would you rather get something like that? Or let's try something more, 7 things you must know before getting shoulder surgery. Okay, shocking reporting reveals the 5 things you must know about back pain. 3 retirement murdering mistakes few doctors will tell you. These are things that you could replace if your workshop is about, how to reduce back pain at home or how to reduce golf pain while golfing. These are all things that people have seen 100 times, and they can Google that exact thing and find 1,000 blogs that have the same title. Versus 3 retirement murdering mistakes few family doctors will tell you. And this isn't saying that doctors are keeping information. It's just stating that family doctors don't know nearly as much as how the human body functions on a musculoskeletal standpoint than physical therapists do. And so they're not going to tell you a lot of things. They're going to tell you to stop playing golf or to take Tylenol or oxycodone every single day. That's what a family doctor would tell you. So this is a headline that would be like, oh my gosh, this is a workshop that I need to attend. Okay, so we're hitting on all those emotional triggers and having those logical statements in there. And this might be a little heavy, but dang it, not only are people going to click and follow this headline, you're going to get even some family doctors that are initially like, I am offended, I'm triggered, and I need to look into this. And then they realize it's like, wow, I did not know all of that. I'm going to refer someone to this person. It hooks people so well.
I think that's a big thing too, is like fear people always are more motivated often by the fear of loss than they are of like moving towards positivity sometimes. So those like curiosity, fear headlines sometimes, do you find them like work to really grab a lot of attention?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I try to avoid them because I like to be a positive
Yeah.
person. But if we're talking like realistically, that if you don't do something about this back pain and you just like allow it to continue to fester and inflame, then it's going to cause you problems. You're not going to be able to play 18 holes of golf every single day in your retirement, and your entire vision for your retirement that you've been fighting for 50 years of hard work, you're not going to be able to have it. So not fixing this problem or approaching it with what the family doctor's advice might give you, it's going to kill your dreams of what your retirement could be. So that particular one was pretty heavy on the negative component, but if you know that it's going to be true and you're not just fear mongering, and that's the real case, that if you don't have this information, this is likely to happen, then I think it's okay to do. But try to be as positive as you can always. Okay. So the last part is we got to put some sort of gravitational curiosity on this thing. Okay. So let me check time. Okay. You're doing all right. So it's not enough to just grab their attention and demonstrate a benefit. Like the headlines we put out there, they're okay. They're better than most things, but there's still a few steps further that we need to do that's just going to make them like that much juicier. Okay. So you must pique their interest and have just buzzing curiosity. That's what the National Enquirer does. It makes it so hard to not grab and pick up that magazine. Most people, they want to, and the only thing stopping them from doing it is the people standing behind them in line that are going to be judging them because they care what Kim Kardashian's doing. So it's those curiosity hooks are because we have super powerful emotionally triggered words like must, alarming, shocking, won't tell you, exposed. Like all of these things make it just so much harder to pull away. So we're going to take the headlines I wrote before and we're going to squeeze in some of these curiosity-based words and make them even stronger. So 5 must-try methods for defeating back pain, even if you don't have time for exercise. So by adding in that last qualifier at the end, even if you don't have time to exercise, that makes the audience that you're addressing so much bigger. Because if you didn't have it, then you're only addressing people that, one, like have back pain and have time to do something about it. And as we know, busy adults, especially during this time when they're probably, at least in the States, a lot of parents are doing homeschooling too. And no one has time to go to practice or to do exercise every single day. So adding this in here just makes your addressable market that much bigger. Okay, and the last rule for writing killer headlines is tell them the end result. You have to use the worded verbiage that tells them about the end destination you're actually getting them. So your headline must be directly talking about the audience. It can't be about you. It can't be something like, 5 reasons why Excel Physical Therapy is the best in Raleigh, North Carolina. Like it needs to be only about the client. In fact, you'll never have to sell again if you find a way to, on every selling opportunity with someone, you don't talk about your services or your business at all. You only ask probing questions and let the prospect themselves come up with and have their own arrive at their own conclusion that you are the best way for them to get their desired end result. If you have to tell them that you're already losing. Okay, so let's do a quick example using the headline that we already had here. So 7 things you must know before getting shoulder surgery. We can definitely make that a lot stronger, even though it's better than most. So let's add in some of those power words. 7 alarming things you can do. 7 shocking things you must know. 7 never spoken about things you must know before getting shoulder surgery. So these are a heck of a lot juicier, and it's so easy to just strengthen everything that you got. So let's add in one more thing to really make this stuff shine. Okay. Adding as much detail as you can is so key. So let's call out. So never spoken about things that you must know before getting shoulder surgery. Not knowing these could cost you thousands. Okay, my dad just got shoulder surgery. It only has like a 20 to 30% success rate. I tried to get him to go see a physical therapist. He wouldn't do it. Had to listen to his orthopedist. I'm still salty about that. I won't go into it. Or you can do add, number 5 will blow your mind, like something that gives them a logical reason to dive right in. So maybe they don't have time to read the whole thing, give them a point to actually direct their focus to go and jump to right away. And that's going to hook them into the rest of the content. So now these are some pretty dang strong hooks that are going to get a lot of people interested in a workshop, your ebook, or whatever it may be. Okay, so if you avoid having really bland headlines, if you avoid using very clinical kinds of language, and you get a little artful with using very strong, powerful, emotionally triggered words and projecting like, here's the end result that you're going to get by attending here, or here's the end result that you're going to have if you don't attend here, both work really well. But once you have come up with a couple of those, how do you make sure that people are actually interested in them? Because it's not enough to just come up with a really good headline that you think is really good, because we don't put money in our own pockets. We do not think for our prospects. So it's very, very important to always, always, always take whatever you think is going to work and go and test it before you go all in. Because as we discussed in the beginning, it sucks building on a workshop that you thought was like going to be the best thing ever, and you put your heart and soul into it, only for no one to care and for no one to show up. So I'm going to show you a tactic that we do with all of our clients and that we teach within our groups called rapid fire testing. So rapid fire testing is a Facebook using Facebook ads to validate your offers as well as your headlines. So for this particular experiment, it's only a 1 week long experiment, and we use lead generation ads. And now a lot of people are probably, if you're familiar with Facebook ads, you're probably like, lead generation ads provide low quality leads because they have to go through fewer number of steps to actually opt in, which is absolutely true. But we're not running these campaigns to find our dream clients. We're running these campaigns to get traffic and eyeballs on our headlines and our offers, so that people can tell us, people that don't know who we are, that they're interested in this thing, and they vote using their own time and money. That is the only way that you can truly test an offer. You can always put together an email campaign and send it to your existing audience and say, hey, we're putting together a workshop. What do you think of these titles? Which one are you going to be the most interested in? But that isn't going to give you a true test. If your goal is to attract new people, going to your current existing audience isn't the style of validation that you need, because a lot of them are going to tell you what you want to hear. Even if they're not interested in any of them, they're going to pick one. So it's not going to give you a true test on whether or not your offer or your headline is good. This is the purest, truest way that you can test anything. So basically, we set up these lead generation campaigns, which are really simple. This is what they look like. If you're not familiar with what they do, it's just a simple kind of like front page with a little form and then a thank you page. Super basic. But how we run these is we create 3 headlines that we think are going to work really well. Talk to new patients as they come in and have them see which ones are the best. You can come up with like a list of 5 and let people that you know, like, and trust narrow that down to 3, and then take those 3 to lead generation campaigns. But we set these up. We run it at $10 a day. We run it for 1 week. And so for $50, it doesn't need to be the full week. It can just be 5 days. 90% of the time, you're going to know exactly which offer and which headline is going to be the best. So you're basically just split testing these against each other. So you're looking for one that is going to be the obvious winner. There's always a really, really obvious winner. And it has 4 to 5 leads. Basically, got 1 lead every single day. You know it's going to be a strong offer, and it's going to be a strong headline. So that's the one that you want to run with. So once you've identified which one that is, that's when it's okay to go back in, build out your workshop, or build out the landing pages, build out the sequences, build out the workshop itself. But if you have all of them out there and you don't get those 4 to 5 leads, you know that you need to go back to the chalkboard and draw something else up, because your particular audience that you targeted wasn't that interested in it. So you're looking for the one headline and one offer that gets those 4 to 5 people a lead within a 5-day period. And then once you have that, that's when you can build out everything else. So that's basically the rule of thumb that we do with all of our clients. And that's how we've been able to make sure that everyone that we run workshops with, or that we help run workshops, has a full attendance. To be as many people that show up to the workshop as possible, because we're not advertising something no one cares about, which is kind of important.
Are you driving these people to a workshop, like saying, hey, the lead ad is to a workshop to opt in, and then utilizing those people and then kind of building out landing pages after that?
Yep. So it's basically a very similar ad style format that we run once we transition, to conversion campaigns. That's the ad step that we do after this. But yeah, the lead generation ads are all about the workshop. Here's the title of the workshop. Here's what you get out of it. And then you nailed it.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, so that's basically all I have for this presentation. So I'm down to go into any Q&A and talk a little bit more about what the process looks like for building out and actually making sure people show up.
For sure. I think that's awesome. I really appreciate it. And everyone, who's listening to this and watching in the future, really make sure that you dial it in with the headlines and, really making sure that it's about the person. I always say this: people don't buy service, they buy solutions. Nobody is saying, oh man, my back hurts, I need to get massaged. They're saying my back hurts and I can't put my pants on and I can't go to work, or I'm tired because I can't sleep all night and I'm grumpy with my wife, and it affects their life. So we always really need to get into the deeper levels about what it is we're actually doing. And if we can start delivering that, it's huge. I always laugh when you say the back pain seminar, because I remember like the first couple I did, I'd do back pain seminars. So I had no idea, right? Then when I started to tailor them to saying, hey, how to deadlift 50% more with no back pain, people would start coming to them. So I worked in a gym as a trainer and practitioner. So people started coming into that stuff. How to run 5 extra kilometers, or how to add like 5 extra kilometers to your run without knee pain. And people are like, oh, that's awesome. So I didn't go to super details of some of them. I probably should have, but it was like over time, just kind of learning that. And I think the headlines and making it about them and the outcomes is so important to that.
Yeah, there's a quote. I'm trying to remember who did it, but he said 80% more people read the headline than the actual content itself. Mm-hmm. So when you write your headline, you spent 80 cents out of your dollar, mm-hmm. which is, so you need to people need to spend a ton of time crafting their headlines, making sure that people actually care, because that's what gets people to actually show up. That's what gets people to read their blog. That's what people get to share your content. Most people aren't going to watch the whole video. They're not going to read the whole blog. But if you have a really good descriptive headline, that's what gets people to share and think about you and talk about you.
For sure. And there's a book I know that if you guys are interested in, I've learned it's kind of like a little bit higher level, but it's called Great Leads. I can't remember who is the author of it, but he's a marketer, kind of back to the Eugene Schwartz days. And it's an awesome book that talks about creating leads, or the headline, kind of the lead into the actual thing itself. So cool. So one big thing that I get with people is they get super discouraged. We touched on it a little bit. They get super discouraged because they get a bunch of people opting in, let's say, and then they go to do it and 2 people show up. Or I've had people before where they've had 30 or 40 people and like no one shows up. And they get super discouraged and think, man, I just wasted all my time. And kind of what I mentioned before, it's like, hey, these people raised their hand and they may have not shown up for a couple of reasons. 1, because they were busy with something else or whatnot. Or 2, we might not have followed up with them. So, maybe let's touch a little bit on making sure that people show up, or if they don't show up, what we can do in order to get them engaged, because they did raise their hand saying, hey, I've got back pain and I want to deadlift and I can't do that right now. So I couldn't make your workshop, but I still kind of want what you have to offer. And for people to not really give up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And it all begins on the thank you page. Whatever your confirmation page is. Oh, hold on. Sorry. And so it all starts with the thank you page. That's what sets the expectation for everything moving forward, that shows the person that just registered they're not going to waste their time. So we like to have a video on there that basically welcomes them, retells them what they just got, and then tells them what to expect, and tells them, you need to make sure that you show up live, because there's going to be elements to showing up live that you're just not going to get on the replay. So building that anticipation to actually get them to go. And then also beneath that, giving them the ability to just take the offer, that they don't need to wait until the workshop if they need to take care of this right now. Here's the special offer, call us now. So that always gets a good percentage of people. And then this is a little trick that we do. I'll share it with you guys. We use Facebook chat bots a lot. So beneath that video, we have a button that says, click the button to download our workbook. And this is going to help prepare you to get the best results out of this workshop. So we use that workbook. Once they click that link, our Facebook chatbot delivers it directly to them through Facebook Messenger. And now we're able to not only send them reminder campaigns through email, but also through Facebook Messenger and through text. So we hit them on all 3 channels because we know that only 15% of people are going to get our reminder emails through email. Only 15%. So if I have a full 30-person booked workshop and I'm counting on those reminders to actually get them there, only 15% of that 30 people are actually going to go. So that's why a lot of people end up being like screwed, because they just didn't create enough opportunity for that person to remember that it was happening. So it wasn't that the people didn't want to go. It's that you weren't using enough mediums to make sure that that person didn't forget. And you should always expect people to forget. I think the average attention span is 6 seconds now. That's worse than a goldfish. So we need to give people opportunity to remember. So
what'd you say?
That work.
Just kidding.
So the second piece of that was that workbook is absolutely key. It's so important because once you give them that workbook, most of them are going to look at it once and then not look at it. But that gives you a reason to follow up with them. And if you can get a conversation with your registrants before the workshop, they're going to show up for sure. It just skyrockets when you can get a conversation with them, no matter how short, prior to it. So once you deliver that workshop, 3 days later, reach out to them like, hey, did you get a chance to check out that workshop? Not an automated sequence. Not an automated sequence. Okay, I think it's funny. It's almost like a paradox, because a lot of PTs love that, once someone's in front of me, I can sell them on anything. But at the same time, they want all of their marketing completely automated. That's crazy. So you need a degree of both. So once they have the workshop, personally follow up with them, tell them that you're really excited for the workshop and can't wait to see them there. What kind of things do you want to make sure that I answer during that workshop? And then they're going to tell you what they're expecting, what their expectation is. You can promise it to them, and then you can start tailoring your workshop to actually be what those people are saying. And in the past, we didn't even build our workshop until we reached out and talked to every single person who registered for it so that they could tell us what our workshop was going to be. So we had no clue. We just had a really good headline. And so we let the registrants tell us what they wanted, and then we built it like the day before.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that's so important. And like one thing that I've always really said, it's like I'm a huge, fan of being able to automate, but you've got to have that personal touch. So, if you're in a clinic that has front desk, like I would have front desk call them. And I also used, in conjunction with like Shock and Awe or direct mailers to their house as well, if I would get their addresses, and like, especially if they came in and we would send them packages. So they come in, they got Shock and Awe box sitting on their, this is live webinar, live in-person workshop, and giving them like packages and making them feel like, holy shit, this is like the best experience ever. I went to, Dr. Sally's workshop on back pain, and it was like boring. They had a laser pointer and talking. This one's engaging. And I think that's a big thing too, is you don't have to do a crazy amount of work with it. Like there's been times I've literally just said, hey, I'm going to do this. I kind of have some ideas in mind, and I literally just made up the whole workshop based on what they asked. So it's okay. Well, here's some questions. Here's what I need to talk about. What do you want to learn? Let's tailor it to you. And then they feel like they've got a custom experience instead of like forcing something they don't really care about. And I think that that's a really big thing, is you don't have to have tons of content. Just talk to people and answer questions. Literally what you said, I think connecting back to that guy in the 1940s, that's pretty much what he did, right? Like, hey, here's questions people have. Let me answer them for you. That's going to get more engagement than just a boring, dry presentation that brings people PTSD from being in college or university, right?
Right, exactly. The more you can try to deliver value up front, the more they're going to care about trying to get to know you. Most PTs try to sell based off friendship and relationships, but no one has time for more friends and relationships. That's not what they're looking for. They want to receive value first, and once they know that you're not wasting their time, that's when they care about being your friend. So you got to follow up with them and show them that you're trying to provide as much value as you can prior to the workshop, so that when they see you and feel your energy and can see your enthusiasm and your personality, that's when they are completely sold, because you show them that you care about their outcome more than anything, and then you sold them with your personality.
Yeah, love it. I really appreciate your time for coming on here and sharing your, the valuable tools and being able to implement workshops. So tell people a little bit about how they can get in touch with you, how they can find you, what you can kind of help them with.
Yeah. So the easiest way to get a hold of me and see all of our free content that's out there is through the Facebook Strategies for Physical Therapists Facebook group. You can find me on Facebook, just Jordan Mather, and then there's no way you can't find my group if you look at my profile. So that's a really easy way to do it. If you're trying to figure out, you want to run a workshop, you just don't have time to build out all the emails and the templates and all that stuff, you can reach out to me. We've partnered with Dr. Jared Carter right now and have all of those templates available for less than $50. So if that's something you want to just like bypass all of the front end tedious work of building stuff out, reach out to me and ask about it.
For sure. And I'll make sure to include the links below this video or around it, whatever source it's on, so people can reach out to you. Guys, I really appreciate you, Jordan, coming on, and you guys definitely reach out to him to be able to help, design some of the workshop aspects if you're stuck. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on this call with us today and share everything. Thanks again.
Likewise, Brad. Really appreciate the opportunity.